Tonight, friends and family gather to remember the life of Daniel Zeno.
He had a life to live and everything, you know, he's just the same as like all of us, right?
The 16-year-old from Vaughan died in a single vehicle crash over the winter break. Plus,
if you have a vacation day or if you want to get away, then, you know, we can jump on the GO train rather than driving.
GO Transit expands to wine country. It's the first day of daily commuter service between Toronto and Niagara Falls. And caught red-handed, a woman's laptop is nicked from right under her chair at the Future Bakery. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. An emotional visitation tonight for a 16-year-old killed in a car crash on New Year's Day. Daniel Zeno died when the car he and 4 other teens were in veered off the road and into a tree. Taylor Simmons has more on how he's being remembered.
Parking lot full, dozens packed into the Ward Funeral Home in Woodbridge to say goodbye to Daniel Zeno. The 16-year-old from Vaughan died Wednesday. He was a passenger in this car, filled with 4 other teens aged 15 to 17. Just before midnight New Year's Day, the car left the road near a sharp curve, smashing into a tree. Police are still investigating why it happened, but don't believe impairment was a factor. They haven't laid any charges. The 17-year-old female driver and 3 other passengers are expected to recover. Classmates of Zeno returned to school for the first time since winter break today, including his cousin.
To be honest, I'm really sad. You know, he died in such a tragic way. Like, you know, he shouldn't have died like that. He played basketball, man. He loved that. You know, he's just had a lot of skills and talents that, you know, some people don't have.
He was a really good kid. He was very, like, bubbly, and, like, no one would obviously no one expect this to happen. Yeah, everybody liked him.
There was nothing rude that anyone could say about him. He was so sweet.
Everyone's very upset about this, and it's something that we're never going to forget about.
The York Region District School Board brought in their tragic events response team to speak with students and staff today and say they'll continue to offer counseling to whoever needs it.
In speaking with the staff today, we've learned Daniel was a very beloved young man, very well respected by his peers, and as you can imagine, the family is having a difficult time.
At the end of the day, I think it really does show us that we have to be careful, especially when we're driving in a car.
Tonight's final visitation will be followed by a funeral service tomorrow morning in Kleinburg. Taylor Simmons, CBC News, Woodbridge.
And just happening this past hour, a man on a scooter has been struck by a vehicle in the Parkdale area. The man has been taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. This happened at Queen Street and Close Avenue. Police say the man may have fallen off the scooter. Close Avenue is closed southbound at Queen while police investigate. And we are getting a better sense tonight of what happened during that afternoon shooting in the Beach neighborhood that sent 2 men to hospital. According to a new police release from Toronto Police, an Audi was stopped at a red light near a gas station at Kingston Road at Woodbine when the passenger there was approached from behind by a black Mercedes. Now, a man with a gun exited that Mercedes and then approached the passenger side of the Audi and began to shoot, striking the victims inside. He then ran southbound into a nearby residential area. At that point then, both cars then sped southbound on Woodbine and they're going in different directions. The Audi with the injured men ended up heading west on Queen, eventually stopping at a wine rack store asking for help. We'll have more on that in a moment. The Mercedes, meanwhile, went eastbound on Queen and soon got into a collision. At that point, 4 men ran out of the car. Officers were able to locate and arrest 2 of them, 21-year-old Ajman Rahman and 20-year-old Rodriguez Sandia. Each face a count of attempted murder and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. 2 other suspects are still at large. Kelda Yoon has more on how the community is reacting.
The guy was just like telling us like his friend got shot and he also get shot.
Mayank Gambier was working inside the wine rack when 2 men staggered in. Police say they had been shot at Woodbine and Kingston Road while sitting in a car. They drove toward the Queen Street shop.
I was like, is that a reality going on, or is that I am watching a film, or what is going on? Like, I haven't seen that stuff in real life.
Those in the neighborhood say what happened is sad and scary, but also the new normal.
It is on my mind, but It kind of happens all the time.
I don't think people have to feel unsafe. Bad things can happen anywhere. It's a sign of the times.
Just the way things have been going the last probably year, nothing really surprises me anymore in terms of gun violence in the city.
3 guns were found near the scene. Gloria Fleming works in a shop on Queen near Woodbine. Despite the shooting, her feelings about the neighborhood haven't changed.
You know, I gotta just be positive, and not, worry about things happening. You know what I mean?
As for the 2 victims, police say the man who was shot in his lower body, he has since been released from hospital. The other male victim, who was shot several times throughout his body, he remains in hospital tonight but is in non-life-threatening condition. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
GO train service was disrupted briefly this morning after a train's engine caught fire, causing firefighters to rush to the tracks near the Distillery District. Now, the train was carrying passengers headed east. Those closest to the engine were pushed back to other cars on the train while they waited for another train to come pick them up. Metrolink says residents in the area complained of a strong electrical burning smell. No one was injured, but the fire shut down travel on the line for about an hour and a half. Meanwhile, Metrolinx was launching a new service on the westbound tracks. GO's new Monday to Friday service to and from Niagara Falls. Farah Morelli has the details.
I'm here at Union Station, where the first weekday train from Toronto to Niagara Falls left at 5:15 on time. It's a long trip, a little more than 2.5 hours, but for people used to bumper-to-bumper traffic on the QEW, it's a welcome reprieve. What's also interesting is that this is the first time we're seeing a weekday stop in St. Catharines. That's one of the stops along this route. This is all, of course, part of the GO expansion that was announced in December. If you are a regular commuter in this region, here's what you have to know about the new route. It's a Monday to Friday route. The cost is $19.80. If you have a Presto card, or a little bit more than $22 for a cash fare. It'll be 1 trip in each direction a day. And the train will move people from Niagara Falls to Toronto in the morning, back to Niagara Falls in the evening. It leaves pretty early from Niagara, 5:19 in the morning. It arrives in Toronto 7:50 in the morning, and that evening train home leaves at 5:15 and arrives at Niagara at 7:47. Today there was a lot of excitement amongst commuters at Union Station about the new route.
I think it's great, yeah. So if you have a vacation day or if you want to get away, then, we can jump on the GO train rather than driving.
It's great for sightseeing to Niagara Falls. It's also great for the university. Students going to university, you don't need access to the 401. Hop on the GO train, you're there.
It's good for people coming here every day from Niagara Falls. Hope they enjoy it.
As of right now, there is only 1 trip in each direction every day, but we spoke to Metrolinx about the possibility of that increasing. It says it depends on a number of things. The first thing being, of course, the ability to secure more trains, and secondly, its ability to make deals with the owners of these corridors. They'll also be monitoring whether people are actually taking this route.
It's already part of our plans to increase the trips. But we also monitor ridership, and that's what we'll be doing.
The provincial government has said it's in the middle of a review of the GO service at the moment. It said its priority is the train service, which is welcome news for people who are looking for other routes and increases to those routes over the coming months. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Environment Canada is just starting to lift some freezing rain warnings in our area, although many still remain in effect in the GTA and more into eastern Ontario at this hour. The Weather Office alerting drivers of the possibility of some freezing precipitation, particularly over higher elevations. Although with temperatures rising overnight, all that should just switch to rain. Colette Kennedy is here with her first look at the forecast. We had a wet, slick evening on the roads tonight, but most of that's moving on at this hour.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That's right. We're really seeing some improvement because those temperatures have continued to rise. So getting through some of the tricky periods and now seeing that precipitation because those temperatures getting milder and milder, and they're going to keep rising through the overnight as rainfall moving through. So the way it looks, yes, still nastier conditions a little bit further east if for any reason you're going to be traveling in that direction through the overnight hours. But we see most of this moving through as rain showers from here on out and tapering off through the overnight. We get into a drier period. At least we'll start the day off that way. But then the next wave will be moving in through the afternoon tomorrow. So the temperatures will be mild tomorrow morning and into the afternoon, and then eventually start to come down. So we could see a bit of a mix coming back at us tomorrow evening, but through the day into the afternoon hours, it will be showers and then turning over to some light flurries. And because of some of the rain from tonight and showers tomorrow, some of the totals we'd be looking at into tomorrow afternoon, generally less than 10 millimeters, 5 to 10 millimeters we're talking about. Overnight tonight, though, mild temperatures, and that means when the moisture comes back tomorrow afternoon, 6 degrees, still showers until it starts to cool down tomorrow evening, but it shouldn't be as bad as what we saw through this evening, Mike.
All right, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
If you're looking to rent an apartment in Toronto this year, you might have to pay more than you were planning. A new report suggests that the cost of renting in our city could go up 11% in 2019. Greg Ross tells us why.
The landlord is in control. The landlord is definitely in control right now.
Joe Machado's real estate business represents both landlords and tenants. He says it's already a challenging market for renters.
Landlords right now, it's really not a question of whether they can rent the units or not. It's a question of who they're going to rent the unit to.
A new report on rentals.ca says it's going to be even more competitive in the coming year. The report suggests the cost to rent in Toronto could increase by as much as 11% in 2019, and they point to several factors, the biggest being supply and demand.
For each of the last 3 years, we've been undersupplying the market by 5 to 10,000 units. So that's one of the huge reasons why we've seen this growth.
In addition to a rapidly increasing population, they say it's getting more and more difficult to purchase a home in Toronto.
Because this new stress test has taken a lot of people out of that ownership market and forced them to rent.
And those renters have to be prepared to pay if they want to live downtown. Machado says his clients are already netting big dollars for their unit.
A basement apartment is now somewhere between $1,800 to $2,300 for a one-bedroom. Two-bedroom apartments above ground are anywhere from $2,300 on the low side up to $3,500.
And competition to find rental units in Toronto can be fierce.
And then we had like a bidding war, so.
Jay Bowie not only had to pay hundreds of dollars over asking for his condo in City Place, he also had to pay 3 months rent up front.
And since then prices have gone up like crazy, so I'm happy that we got the place that we did, for the price that we did.
The report says this is not exclusive to Toronto. In 2019, they expect to see rent rates increase 9% in Ottawa and 7% in Vancouver. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, a woman's laptop was stolen from right underneath her chair. And despite being caught red-handed on security cameras, she fears the thieves will never be caught. We'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. We have some brazen surveillance video to show you of a woman's laptop and iPad being stolen right from underneath her chair while she ate at a restaurant in the annex. Alice Chiasson spoke with the woman who fears the thieves will never be caught, despite being captured on video.
Yeah, I was sitting here, and the whole things happened here actually. So they come over this table. My bag was under my chair, this chair, and it wasn't open, my bag.
Gulai was having dinner with friends Saturday night. There they are in Future Bakery's security camera footage. Fast forward and you see the moment that makes Gulai's blood boil.
I have watched the footage several times, just driving me crazy how I didn't really realize the situation.
You can see how covert the thieves are. The man in the dark toque grabs the bag tucked under Gulai's chair. He wiggles the laptop out, kicks the bag back under the chair, and hands it to his accomplice, who makes off with it. She called the police right away. She says they told her,
just go online and fill out the form and report the incident, and you're gonna follow up. And then we did it, and they didn't call us still. It has been 3 days.
Thefts under $5,000 are supposed to be reported online.
Certain wait, but they can call us. They can call the non-emergency phone number, or they can call the local division to find out who is investigating, or whether it's a detective or the major crime unit. You can speak to one of the officers who might be directly involved to get more feedback.
But sitting back and waiting is frustrating for Gulai, especially considering...
And this is the second time in a year.
And the fact that this time she's got footage of the thieves.
That makes me really disappointed.
She took matters into her own hands by circulating the video on Facebook, which can be a slippery slope to vigilantism, says Constable McCabe.
We would strongly discourage anyone taking anything into their own hands. Now, having an image, having a picture of what the suspects look like, that's huge for us.
Constable McCabe suspects it won't take long to find these people because Gulai is armed with evidence and shares this advice.
You want to be aware of your surroundings the whole time. If it's on the ground, have it secured in front of you, closed, maybe with your leg around the strap so you can feel if anyone's pulling at it.
If I need to carry all my belongings all the time on my lap or on my body, how am I going to feel really safe or comfortable in this city?
You got to do what you got to do, right? Because the thieves are going to do what they have to do.
Alice Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, a new ad from Unifor is calling out General Motors.
GM wants to ramp up production in Mexico to 1 million cars a year, while they shrink production in Canada to 1/5 of that.
You may have seen this during the Golden Globes last night. GM is closing 5 plants, including the one in Oshawa. Well, tomorrow, Unifor's president, Jerry Dias, will meet once again with senior GM officials in Detroit to discuss proposals to keep the plant open. Now, as for the city of Oshawa itself, many community organizations there are already dealing with the effects of the planned closure. Of the 19 agencies that have applied for grants from City Hall, city staff are recommending just one get funding. Elisa Shing explains why.
Thousands of women and children have sought shelter and services at Denise House over its 35 years in Oshawa. The months after the holidays are an especially busy time.
We are seeing families, women, kids, over and above what our provincial funding is for.
This year is the first time its executive director applied for a partnership grant from the city for $5,000.
That will provide a warm bed, bedding, emergency clothing, food, for a number of families on a monthly basis.
The city has received 19 requests for funding from shelters like Denise House, community programs, and the Canadian Automotive Museum.
It is a very tough times for museums in Ontario at all levels of government.
Serving the needs of the community.
Today, other organizations also argued for help. Typically, Oshawa Council approves roughly half of the funding applications each year. Oshawa will lose $8 million in taxes from the General Motors plant shutdown.
Those salaries pay for a lot of business in this town, and if other businesses start shutting down, or a feeder plant shutting down, then there's a spin-off effect. Just like bringing General Motors creates 7 times revenue, when you lose it, you lose 7 times revenue.
I certainly understand that, but I would hope that there are some contingency plans around all of that as we move through 2019. That doesn't take away the need of community support agencies. And I would likely say that, in fact, it might make us all the more busy.
That obviously leads to, discussions about what can be reduced, and so that would be anything from programming exhibits to personnel costs.
The Finance Committee deferred decisions to City Council. It starts this year's budget deliberations starting Friday. Lisa Sheng, CBC News, Oshawa.
The Maple Leafs can't seem to get a break as they host the Predators tonight. We'll have highlights from the game when we come back.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
The Maple Leafs hosting the Predators tonight. Opening period, Austin Matthews fires, watch the replay, rings the shot right off the puck. Nashville on a power play in the second. Matthias Ekholm beating Michael Hutchinson there. A minute later, though, Austin Matthews thinks he's tied the game as he taps the puck in. Nice shot there, but that goal was eventually called back because they found Nylander was offside. Then it's PK Subban scoring with a shot off the stick of Nylander. A goal in his hometown puts Nashville up 2-0. They'd go on to blank the Leafs 4-0. Meteorologist Kelly Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. What a difference even 12 hours makes today from the relative cold this afternoon to the mild overnight weather we're seeing.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. To start off an overnight low from last night, -8, and then to see the temperature coming up, and by tomorrow morning, early morning hours, we're looking at it being near 6 degrees, and in some cases, like St. Catharines area, maybe even up to 8 degrees or so. So big changes. Average high at this time of year, almost -2, and -10 for our average low at this time of year. I've had a few days off, so I admit I needed a little bit of a refresher myself to kind of think, where should we be at this time? Now, having a look at that moisture moving through, we were showing you this a little bit earlier in the show. Some of the rain showers, 5 to 10 millimeters, because the temperatures come up, turning it over to rain and get rid of some of the slicker stuff out there. Then some drier conditions, so tomorrow morning's commute on the drier side. However, the next wave brings in some more moisture, and that means mostly some light showers through the GTA tomorrow afternoon, getting into some flurries or very light snow to the north of us, and perhaps a little bit of ice pellet activity in there, or a bit of a mix, but it should be shorter lived. But tomorrow, looking at that afternoon, evening commute could be a little bit slick at times, or in places anyway, and at least we'll see some wet roadways. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, tomorrow morning, at least things looking a little bit drier. For southwestern Ontario, these are the readings. So overnight, as the temperature continues to rise, by tomorrow morning, 5 to 7 degrees, kind of hanging in there, nearly steady through the afternoon, looking at some showers and then those moving out. However, they're coming through the GTA into the afternoon hours. So tonight, the temperature keeps going up towards the morning hours. And boy, we're going to see changes this week. So enjoy what you can of the 5 to 7 degrees. And we'll see those highs maybe even up to 8 degrees into St. Catharines for tomorrow afternoon as the rain showers come in, and then a bit of a changeover, because we do have some much colder air that's going to move in behind this system. Having a look at that as we get through Tuesday night, not so bad, into Wednesday. Again, -10 is where we should be for those overnight lows. But Wednesday, the risk of seeing some flurries, and then it's really on the backside of that. So as we get Wednesday into Thursday, getting colder. Thursday, -6. In the afternoon, with the wind chill, it's going to feel like -13. So in the overnight, as we go into Friday morning, feeling like -20 as you're getting up Friday morning. Yes, yeah, feeling like January. These highs definitely falling well below seasonal from where we're at right now, heading above seasonal, Mike.
Feeling like -20 on Friday. Thanks for the warning, Colette.
Yeah, ouch is right.
Ouch. One thing to tell you about before we go tonight, it's CBC Toronto's Community Champions program. We are recognizing the people and projects that are making the GTA a better place to live, work, and play. And we need your help to find the people that should get the award. It could be a mentor, your local neighborhood block party organizers, or a volunteer group working to raise awareness for a worthy cause. Get creative and think about what kind of selfless acts you have seen in the past year and nominate the people behind them. Just head to cbc.ca/community champions or find a link from our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. Award recipients could be featured in our coverage across all of our CBC Toronto platforms, including CBC Radio, our website, as well as right here on your late night newscast. So please send in some of your suggestions. That's our newscast for tonight. See you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.